Maurice of Orange was stadtholder of all the provinces of the Dutch Republic except for Friesland from 1585 at earliest until his death in 1625, before he became Prince of Orange upon the death of his eldest half-brother Philip William in 1618. He was known as Maurice of Nassau. Maurice spent his youth in Dillenburg in Nassau, and studied in Heidelberg and Leiden. He succeeded his father William the Silent as stadtholder of Holland and Zeeland in 1585, and became stadtholder of Utrecht, Guelders and Overijssel in 1590, and of Groningen in 1620. As Captain General and Admiral of the Union, Maurice organized the Dutch rebellion against Spain into a coherent, successful revolt and won fame as a military strategist. Under his leadership and in cooperation with the Lands Advocate of Holland Johan van Oldenbarnevelt, the Dutch States Army achieved many victories and drove the Spaniards out of the north and east of the Republic. Maurice set out to revive and revise the classical doctrines of Vegetius and pioneered the new European forms of armament and drill. During the 12 Years' Truce, a religious dispute broke out in the Republic, and a conflict erupted between Maurice and van Oldenbarnevelt, which ended with the latter's decapitation. After the truce, Maurice failed to achieve more military victories. He died without legitimate children in The Hague in 1625, and was succeeded by his younger half-brother Frederick Henry. Life. Maurice was the son of William the Silent and Princess Anna of Saxony and was born at the castle of Dillenburg. He was named after his maternal grandfather, the Elector Maurice of Saxony, who was also a noted general. Maurice never married but was the father of illegitimate children by Margaretha van Mechelen and Anna van der Kelder. He was raised in Dillenburg by his uncle Johan of Nassau. Together with his cousin Willem Lodewijk, he studied in Heidelberg and later in Leiden, where he met Simon Stevin. The states of Holland and Zeeland paid for his studies, as the father had run into financial problems after spending his entire fortune in the early stages of the Dutch revolt. Only 16 when his father was murdered in Delft in 1584, he soon took over as stadtholder, though this title was not inheritable. The monarchs of England and France had been requested to accept sovereignty, but had refused. This had left Maurice as the only acceptable candidate for the position of stadtholder. He became stadtholder of Holland and Zeeland in 1585, of Guelders, Overijssel and Utrecht in 1590, and of Groningen and Drenthe in 1620. Protestant Maurice was preceded as Prince of Orange by his Roman Catholic eldest half-brother Philip William, Prince of Orange, deceased 1618. However, Philip William was in the custody of Spain, remaining so until 1596, and was thus unable to lead the Dutch independence cause. Maria of Nassau was a full sister of Philip William from the first marriage of William I, Prince of Orange, to wealthy and powerful aristocrat Anna van Egmond, and a contender to Maurice over the estate of the father. He was appointed Captain General of the Army in 1587, bypassing the Earl of Leicester, who returned to England on hearing this news. Military career. Maurice organized the rebellion against Spain into a coherent, successful revolt. He reorganized the Dutch States Army together with Willem Lodewijk, studied military history, strategy and tactics, mathematics and astronomy, and proved himself to be among the best strategists of his age. The 80 Years' War was a challenge to his style, so he could prove himself a good leader by taking several Spanish outposts, paying special attention to the siege theories of Simon Stevin. He took valuable key fortresses and towns during a period known as the 10 Glory Years. Breda in 1590s at Fen, Nodsenburg in 1591, Steenwijik in 1592, and Geertruidenberg in 1593. In 1597 he went on a further offensive and took Rheinberg, Moorsgroenlo, Bredevoort, Enschede, Uitmarsum, Oldenzaal, and closed off the year with the capture of Lingen. These victories rounded out the borders to the Dutch Republic, solidifying the revolt and allowing a national state to develop behind secure borders. They also established Maurice as the foremost general of his time. Many of the great generals of the succeeding generation, including his brother Frederick Henry and many of the commanders of the English Civil War, learned the trade under his command. For a series of maps showing Maurice's campaigns to extend and consolidate the borders of the Republic, see Gallery of Maps of the 80 Years' War. His victories in the pitched battles at Turnhout and at Nieuw Upoort were dependent on his innovation of cooperation between arms, with artillery playing a decisive supporting role. The victories earned him military fame and acknowledgement throughout Europe. Despite these successes, the House of Orange did not attain great respect among European royalty, as the stadtholdership was not inheritable. The training of his army is especially important to early modern warfare and the military revolution of 1560 to 1650. Previous generals had made use of drill and exercise in order to instill discipline and to keep the men physically fit, but for Maurice, they were the fundamental postulates of tactics. Quote, "This change affected the entire conduct of warfare, since it required the officers to train men in addition to leading them, decreased the size of the basic infantry unit for functional purposes since more specific orders had to be given in battle, and the decrease in herd behavior required more initiative and intelligence from the average soldier. One major contribution was the introduction of volley fire, which enabled soldiers to compensate for the inaccuracy of the weapons by firing in a large group. It was first used in European combat at the Battle of Nieuw Upoort in 1600. As part of his efforts to find allies against Spain, Maurice received Moroccan envoys such as al-Hahari. They discussed the possibility of an alliance between Holland, the Ottoman Empire, Morocco and the Moriscos, against the common enemy Spain. Al-Hajari's account mentions in detail a discussion for a combined offensive against Spain. Maurice was known in his time and by historians as the first general of his age. His reputation rests not as much on his ability to win and exploit field battles as it does on this expertise as a siege commander, military organizer and innovator. Of his two great adversaries, Alexander Farnese, Duke of Parma, and Ambrogio Spinola, he cautiously never allowed himself to be brought to battle with Parma, and did not follow up chances to offer Spinola battle with forces in his favor on the YSSEL in 1606. He was, however, dealt defeat by the Spanish general at the Battle of Mulheim in October 1605. Based on his preference for sieges and small-scale actions, historian David Trim states that it is difficult to reach a verdict on his ability as a tactician. Maurice founded a whole new school of military professional practice. These pointed the way to the professional armies of the future by reapplying Roman tactics and innovating in the fields of logistics, training, and economics. Many graduates of service under Maurice, such as his nephew the Marshal Turenne, or his disciples such as Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden, applied the Mauritian reforms to great effect in the remainder of the 17th century. Maurice and Oldenbarneveld. Maurice started out as the protégé of Landsadvocaat Johan van Oldenbarneveld, but gradually tensions rose between these two men. Against Maurice's advice, and despite his protests, van Oldenbarneveld decided to sign the 12 years truce with Spain, which lasted from 1609 to 1621. The required funds to maintain the army and navy, and the general course of the war were other topics of constant struggle. With the religious troubles between Gomarus and Arminians, the struggle between Van Oldenbarnevelt and Maurice reached a climax. Van Oldenbarnevelt was arrested, tried and decapitated despite numerous requests for mercy. From 1618 till his death, Maurice now enjoyed uncontested power over the Republic. He expanded the stadtholder's palace at the Binnenhof in The Hague. The Maurice Tower is nowadays part of the building complex of the Senate of the Netherlands. In 1618, he also succeeded his elder half-brother, Philip William, as Prince of Orange, a title he seems rarely to have used. Maurice urged his cadet half-brother, Frederick Henry, to marry in order to preserve the dynasty. In 1621 the war resumed after a 12-year period of truces, and the Spanish, led by Ambrogio Spinola, had notable successes, including the siege of Breda, the old family residence of the Nassaus, in 1625. Maurice died on the 23rd of April 1625, with the siege still underway. Justin of Nassau surrendered Breda in June 1625 after a costly 11-month siege. List of military battles. Maurice participated in these battles as principal commander of Dutch forces. Axel, 1st Bergen op Zoom 1588, Medemblik 1588, Geertruidenberg 1589, 3rd Breda 1590, 2nd Steenbergen 1590, 3rd Zutphen 1591, 2nd Deventer 1591, Wie 1595, 2nd Groenlo 1595, 1st Hulst 1596, Turnout 1597, 2nd Venlo 1597, 2nd Rheinberg 1597, 1st Moors 1597, 3rd Groenlo 1597, 1st Bredevoort 1597, Enschede 1597, Oudmarsum 1597, 1st Oldenzaal 1597, 1st Lingen 1597, 2nd Moors 1598, 3rd Rheinberg 1598, Duttenchem, Ries 1599, New Uport 1600, Ostend 1601, Siege of Hartogenbosch, Siege of Sluis, 2nd Oldenzaal 1605, 2nd Lingen 1605, Mulheim 1605, Wachtendonk, Krakow Castle, 2nd Bredevoort 1606, 4th Rheinberg 1606, 4th Groenlo 1606, 3rd Venlo 1606, Jülich 1621–22, 2nd Bergen op Zoom 1622, 3rd Steenbergen 1622, 4th Breda 1624. Legacy. The island nation of Mauritius, located in the Indian Ocean, was named after him. The island was named in the prince's honor by Dutch explorers in 1598 and was first settled by Dutch emigrants in 1638. In 1624, English explorer Henry Hudson named what is now known as the Hudson River, the Mauritius River, in honor of the prince. Coat of arms and titles. Maurice, besides being stadtholder of several provinces and captain-general, both non-hereditary and appointive titles, was the hereditary sovereign of the Principality of Orange in what is today Provence in France. He also was the lord of many other estates, which formed his wealth: Marquis of Veer and Vlissingen, Count of Nassau, Dillenburg, Buren, Leerdam, Katzenelnbogen and Viaden, Viscount of Antwerp and Besançon, Baron of Agres, Breda, Cranendonk, lands of Cuijk, Duisburg, Eindhoven, City of Grave, Lek, Eiselstein, Diest, Grimbergen, Herstel, Warnton, Beilstein, Bentheimlingen, Moos, Arlay, and Nozeroy, Lord of Dasburg, Geertruidenberg, Hugenlage Zoaluwa, Klundert, Montfort, Naldwijk, Neerwaart, Polanen, Steenbergen, Sint Maarten Stijik, Willemstad, Butgenbach, Sankt Vith, and Besançon. During his lifetime he kept using the arms as during his father's lifetime shown here, and never changed to the simpler arms used by his father and half-brothers. Ancestry. Descendants. Maurice never married but was the father of several illegitimate children by Margaretha van Mechelen, Willem of Nassau, Lord of the Lek, Louis of Nassau, Lord of de Lek and Beverweerd. Maurice, by Cornelia Jacobs Dicta, Anna, by Ursula de Reyck, Elizabeth. Karl, by Anna van de Kelder, Karl Maurice, by Deliana de Backer, Eleonora. Popular culture. Maurice of Nassau appears as the leader of Dutch Empire in the computer strategy game Age of Empires 3. Maurice of Nassau sometimes appears in the loading screen in the computer strategy game Europa Universalis IV. Maurice of Nassau is a great general in the computer strategy game Sid Meier's Civilization V.